Hello and welcome back to another Smurf, and today we're going to talk about two Smurf games that ended up on the PS5. Now, yes, these were on other systems, but I happen to have the PS5 versions, and well, I have finished both of these games. In fact, this one I even got the Platinum Trophy on. So how were they? Well, not bad. This one was much better than the second one, I will say that. So let's start off talking about the first game. This is called Mission Vileaf, where you are a variety of Smurfs, because you do change who you are throughout the game, and you have on a little pack that pretty much can spray plants. And the story is basically Gargamel has unleashed this evil purple plant that is taking over everything. It's infecting all the wildlife, turning everything purple, and pretty much just causing chaos. Now, as you begin to set out, you'll realize that your Smurf character is kind of weak in a way. They can't really run, they're very slow. The game kind of feels like, is this what this is going to be? But I stuck with it. Now, both of these games are co-op games. However, they've done them very differently from each other. This one is done where the second player is like this little mini orb that floats around freely and can actually break the game, as we found out many times as we played. Pretty much there are parts of the game where you're supposed to have a power-up that you get later on, but if you're good at kind of like playing the geometry of the walls and all that, you can kind of force the little orb up, and the little orb can collect, the little collectibles. Sometimes they're little scrolls, sometimes they're these plant things. There's all kinds of different stuff you have to collect, and you can kind of cheat going that way. Either way, you still have to collect them anyway, so if you get them a little early, doesn't really matter. I'm sure the game didn't intend for that, but it's doable. Now, you go through different environments. Sometimes you're in a swamp, sometimes you're on the side of a mountain, sometimes you're even in Gargamel's hovel. Overall, the gameplay gets better as you go. The more power-ups you get, the more it feels like a finished product. Because in the early stages, you kind of feel like maybe it's too realistic. Like, if you think about, little Smurf character with the little pack, what can he actually do? It's kind of how it feels like when you start off. You can't go very fast, you can't jump very good, but eventually you get these abilities where you can speed ahead, you can hover, you can do all kinds of neat tricks with the little jetpack thingy that you have on your back. Now, how was it getting platinum in this game? It's really not that bad. The only thing that I would say is if you're going to play both of these games, just start them on hard. Hard mode isn't that hard, really. Is it a little harder? Yeah, but I only found that out halfway through when I realized I was so close to getting platinum on my first playthrough of this game that had I had done it on hard, I could have done this in one shot. I could have had platinum in about 8, 9 hours. But because I had to do it again on hard, it did take me an extra few hours just to get the platinum. But you'll find most of what takes time in this game is really just trying to spray all the purple plants or collect all the collectibles. It's really not a long game, and I found that out when playing through it the second time on hard. I think I did it in maybe 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. It wasn't very long, and you can speed through it if you're ignoring all your surroundings. Now, with the second game, I didn't even bother with Platinum. This game is very different. This one's called The Prisoner of the Green Stone. So in the first one, Gargamel unleashes the evil plant that kind of takes over everything. This one, Gargamel accidentally knocks over this green stone, kind of caused by the Smurfs because they were messing with him, and it unleashes this like genie thing who's realizing, oh, I'm free, I'm gonna go wreak havoc, and he just kind of puts up these portals, and he's teleporting through areas and causing these big green rocks to come out of walls and floors. It's kind of the same situation as the first one, where this one is covered in purple plants and this one's covered in green stones. Who knows, maybe next time they'll have the yellow moths come through. It's hard to say. But this one changes a lot of the gameplay. You still have your little jetpack thing, but it's not quite the same. You get all the power-ups much faster. You're already able to sprint. You move a lot faster. The game feels less broken in some aspects. The camera on this one kind of was awful. The camera on this one was a lot better. Still not perfect. And just overall, your character feels more fluid. Now, there are a lot of glitches in this one as well. There were points where you slide down mountainsides, and if you jump back on the slide in a certain angle, you can just walk right back up, and the whole sliding mechanic just doesn't load, I guess. Which, that's not useful for anything, but I found that out on accident. They also changed the way the second player works. So on the first one, your second player was the little orb that kind of floated around. This one, the second player is kind of like an attachment to your backpack. It kind of just like comes out on a little tube, and the second player can shoot along with you. This one was more about spraying things. This one's about shooting things. So your gun has different sort of shots. It has one that's kind of based on honey, where things stick to things. There's one where it's based on a vine where it kind of like wraps things together. And then there's one where it's kind of like a grenade launcher and it launches and it explodes. So they kind of changed up how the weapons work. Now, also with this one, they've added in these like trials. So if you're going along and you happen to come across a purple portal, because normally they're green, if you come across a purple portal, you're going into a trial. Now, these trials get old fast, because all you're doing in these trials is defeating enemies within a time limit, and you kind of unlock either some outfits, you unlock some extra points to upgrade your backpack thing. And while, yeah, they were fun for the first few ones, as they went on, they kind of got annoying to the point where, yeah, technically to get the platinum, you have to do them all, and you also have to get them on like this, like platinum, like, you know, bronze, silver, gold, and I don't think they call it platinum, but it was like diamond level. We almost got diamond on one. We were about 15 seconds off, and we tried it again, and we just kept getting worse. So we said, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going for platinum on this anyway. And that's because, at least in the first game, when you're looking for purple plants, you're looking for collectibles, they were kind of just there. Like, oh, as I'm going through the level, there's some here. Okay, maybe I have to look behind this rock. Maybe I have to climb this tree. Pretty straightforward. I looked everywhere. On every single level, we'd be like scanning the ceilings, scanning the walls, looking down into, you know, holes in the ground, trying to find where all the little green stones were. I got to 99% on like 3 different spots, and I said, you know what? I don't care anymore. Because doing that on every single level, where I know I looked in every corner, they must have been in some really, really hidden section. It just wasn't worth it. I did play through it on hard the first time, and would I say it was that hard? No, not really. But these are kids' games, really at the core of things, so yeah, it wasn't a big deal. The gameplay of it just really has you exploring these landscapes and killing off some of these like bug-looking things that come out. Sometimes they look like a mushroom. Sometimes they're a big moth. Sometimes they're like a little like mite that jumps around. And it just happens over and over, and eventually you fight Stolas, who is this genie guy right here, and you fight him a few times throughout the game, and then at the end you have to fight him for this 3-stage battle. It's alright as a game. I would say the first one is definitely better. If you were going to pick one of these to try and maybe play with, you know, a young child or something you just wanted to play through quick, I'd go with the first one. The first one, like I said, was pretty short, and it really kind of felt like, okay, that was a good complete package. This one just felt like it was going on forever, and it was definitely longer, and it's mostly because you're not doing anything that is quite as interesting. The landscapes on this one felt a little more like pre-planned. Yeah, they were sometimes long, but it was kind of like, here, we're doing this to advance the story. This one is just like, here, go on this long walk and waste your time. That's what this one really felt like. Some of the levels just went on and on for no point other than, oh, you need to look for the way to get into the mine, but you're doing it on foot, so you're going to have to travel through all this 3-part countryside, going through here, and the same thing on a mountainside. It's just wasn't quite as good. I wouldn't say this is a bad game, but if I'm giving them a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say this one is at least a 7 to an 8 as far as we got to think about what it is. A very simple, child-friendly platforming game. It was pretty good. You know, like I said, not amazing, but still pretty good. This one was just alright. There was a lot of points where we're just kind of like, do we really want to finish this? But I was thinking, yeah, might as well. It doesn't seem like we have that far to go. It's really 3 main sections and then the boss battle. So neither game is that long, but Smurfs 2 really feels much longer, and that's not for a good reason. But overall, I played both of these Smurf games, finished them both. I don't regret it. There are 2 more Smurf games that they put out recently. Of course, back in the day, there was plenty of other Smurf games. But the other 2 aren't related. I think one is either like a party game or a kart racer or something like that. And then there's one where it's kind of more like Mario Brothers, where you have 2 full Smurfs that you play through and you're kind of jumping through levels. Kind of like a 2.5D situation, where these are full 3D games. I might check out that one eventually, but for the time being, I've had enough Smurf. So I hope you Smurfed, and I'll see you next Smurf.